Hello, this is Regdrin, and we're reaching the end of the single-player campaign for now.
This is Stone of Triumph, and you know what that means.
Also, when I said campaign, I was lying. There is a separate campaign mode that we're not going into because...
It's broken.
It is a little bit broken. It's not really with the spirit of the stuff we've been doing in Gratuitous space battles, and, well, let's not talk about that anymore. We are switching to the Nomads, the final faction we're going to play. Could you describe them in a few words?
Road trip!
Indeed. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Your journey is to your death, preferably by high-powered plasma torpedo volleys, if the armada of aliens known as the Nomads are to be believed. The Nomads have no homeworld, they don't believe it's time to settle down as a species, and they are still looking to find the right planet, and killing time and aliens in the meantime. It's nothing personal, you understand, it's just the way the Nomads entertain themselves. Galactic genocide is their sport of choice. So, in short, they're playing gratuitous space battles.
Yes.
Well, let's take a look at the final maps. We've got an anomaly, which I put engines on my ships regardless. It's possible to play reverse tower defense, where the enemy fleets charge forward and your ships all just kind of stay there. Also, supply limits, but 20 cruiser laser units is actually not a huge constraint when you see the limits of this, because these last two maps, especially the first one, are surprisingly small for the last maps available to us.
Yep.
Especially considering that both opponents are the Swarm, which you'd expect to be larger scale. Well, my ship design. Let's take a look at how their ships work.
Wait, you don't have any battles against the Nomads? Okay.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at that too. Well, let's load a Nomad ship or two. Or let's take a look at the hull, actually. Just so we can learn their statistics. As you might expect from something called the Nomads, they tend to usually have speed boosts.
Yes.
Not always, though.
Their fighters have a speed penalty.
At least this kind. Don't use this fighter, by the way.
Because it has a speed penalty.
Yeah, a hull integrity boost of 25% does not make up the difference for a fighter hull. This one doesn't either. It's got a power output boost and an armor boost, which can be okay. But then we have the fighter that we want to use, which are cheaper and faster. I can't imagine using any other kind of fighter for the Nomads. As for their cruiser, their numbers, and frigates, their numbers aren't incredibly skewed, or nothing really stands out compared to, like, they're kind of more like the Rebels or the Federation than, say, the Tribe. No, the part where they stand out is with some of their weapons. For example, they have a nomadic missile launcher, which is a fast missile launcher, but with the long range of a normal missile launcher.
They do less damage, though.
Yes. I guess the damage a weapon does is something to consider, perhaps. They also have a different sort of beam laser.
Yes.
Much like the guns we saw before, this fires in volleys. I haven't actually measured its DPS compared to non-burst beam lasers. It looks impressive, though.
Yeah.
They do have worse shield penetration than other kinds of lasers, though, if that's something that you worry about. Well, so I think that's enough discussion of...
Well, the Nomads do actually have one more unique thing.
Oh, what would that be?
Check their frigates.
Let's see. Oh yeah, they have those special power plants. Let's take a look at those.
Well, not just that.
Okay.
You're on a frigate.
Yes. So, but let's talk about the armored power plants first. They have a lot more hit points than your standard types. Like, to give you an idea, the standard... Okay, this one has 45 hit points, which is quite a bit for a frigate. The standard has 5 hit points.
Yes. And they also have unique engines.
Yes. Nomadic frigate engines. I'm not actually a huge fan of really speedy frigates, but that's because I normally use them for artillery, and don't want them getting ahead of the front line. However, I guess if you're feeling creative, you can try something with these engines.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways you can make fast frigates pretty hard to hit by any sort of cruiser weapon.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the cruiser weapon, but that's one little tactic that I never really got used to. So it just shows there's plenty of stuff that I still don't know about this game. Well, after all that talking, let's get into the battles. We're going to do both of them because they're both pretty small and resolve kind of fast too.
Yeah, the thing about these maps is that supply limits don't especially matter because the battles are just so tiny.
Yeah, for example, if I was going to use pulse cruisers, that would have to be probably my entire force, and the limit would not actually hurt me. 3, 4... Yeah, there. And I'm not going to do that. I'd like to try something a little bit more balanced.
Like rockets.
Yes, like rockets, and let's throw in some of those nomad beams in there. Just to see how they look. Maybe on the expert map I'll throw in a missile cruiser instead. And we will need, let's see, plenty of beam frigates to shoot out enemy frigates. That's going to be important. And, of course, at least a little bit of anti-fighter cover. Actually, these beam frigates, I made 2 varieties of them. One with enough armor to stop rockets, and one without. I'm gonna try without first, and if they go after my frigates with rockets, then I'll switch out.
Okay.
Usually they target fighters first, though, so I'm gonna take a little gamble here. So let's find that painter, and I don't think we need the full squad for a map of this size.
Well, if you say so.
I do. And they might even just be escorting. Speaking of escorts, let's have them escort one of my rocket cruisers so that they can help paint for the rockets as well as for our sweeper frigates.
So, you've got your orders set on your cruisers?
I sure do.
Okay.
And we'll give them a decent amount of range so that they can actually paint for the rockets if it comes to that. And I think that's just about it. I can add more beam frigates if I have to.
I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. Actually, given the number of enemy frigates, I might want to prioritize them a little bit more. Nomadic beam lasers have pretty good tracking.
Get them. So the thing about the swarm is that they're not actually all that easy to deal with using missiles.
Yeah, especially for builds that fire just a bunch of missiles in one volley, because they have sort of a smart bomb that clears out all missiles around them.
Friendly and enemy, though.
Yeah, that's why swarm fleets often just don't use missiles of their own.
And that frigate got just destroyed in one volley of pulse beam lasers.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Looks like they're going after my frigates, which is fairly smart of them. If you're gonna have beam frigates as your first punch, that's not a bad target. And it looks like their fighters did indeed target my fighters, so that's too bad for them. Ooh, yeah. You're right. Those rapid-fire beams are wiping out those frigates quite nicely. And, of course, they do the usual beam laser thing of zapping off armor of cruisers.
Yes. So, I think you got this one.
I sure hope so. Because I'm kind of spreading out my damage more than I would like here. Okay, well, now that the first cruiser is gone, I think I'll be okay. Dang, okay. I guess that answers the question of how good those Nomad lasers are. Their DPS seems to be pretty nice, actually. Okay. Although, I'd have to do some calculations to know for sure.
Plus, you mounted 6 of them on one ship.
Okay, yeah. Who knows, maybe normal beam lasers would do just as well. Although I'm not entirely sure about that one. Oh, good shooting. That's a pretty respectable victory. These new modern alien ships make pretty patterns when they blow up, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, all of their victories and probably their defeats are all about how entertaining the battle was.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, looks like they missed a lot.
Mm-hmm. You shot them a bunch.
I guess I did shoot them a bunch. Well, let's go to Expert and see what their formation is like.
I think you can take them.
Like, okay. That's one...
That's 3 cruisers and 3 cruisers.
So we're outnumbered 2-to-1 cruiser-wise here. The good news is that we don't have to fight them all at once.
Oh.
Hey.
You lost a cruiser.
Oh, well, a horrible tragedy. We'll have to buy a replacement. I wonder how well attack-oriented fighters would work here. I don't know either.
It's kind of hard to use rocket fighters against them, though.
Why is that? Oh yeah, because of the smart bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah, smart bombs do not work quite so well against rockets because those are something that continually fire instead of in slow volleys. Also, since they travel fast, there's not a huge window to evaporate those things.
Oh, you want to speed it up a little or no?
Oh yeah, that would be a good idea. Thank you for reminding me. Oh, it looks like they're sending an aggressive fighter squadron out.
2, actually.
Yeah, but once again, they're going for my fighters, so good luck with that.
Blow them up.
Yeah. Now, Painter fighters are the second fastest fighter design, but it's still fast enough to last a pretty decent amount of time against anti-fighters. Alright, let's slow it down just a little to see the fireworks. Uh-oh. So, that ship up top is using pulse lasers. So we'd better target that one next, or else it's going to kill us pretty hard.
Why, you don't have any armor?
Well, it takes a pretty big armor investment to ward off pulse lasers.
Not really.
Fortunately, we got rid of it before it could hurt us too badly. And therein lies the weakness of pulse laser cruisers. I mean, yes, the Swarm is not known for being durable, however, they aren't that much more fragile than normal ships. Now, turning towards the top, we see a kind of a problem with this setup, which is that some of our back line has just turned into the front line. Fortunately, it looks like their cruisers are pretty heavily skewed to attacking ours, so it looks like we won't suffer too much. And there it goes.
Put those anti-fighter missiles to work on those cruisers.
Yeah, well, as soon as I knock out their shields, it'll be fine. Looks like their ships are not really armored either.
Yeah, that's the one thing that the AI never really does in this game.
Really heavy armor?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the Alliance does it, but that's pretty much it. You've really developed a flair for pulverizing the aliens in this part of space. Why, thank you.
And that's it for this map.
And it looks like those beam frigates did plenty of damage. And the sweeper frigates didn't, but there weren't a whole lot of enemy fighters there. And finally, actually, seems like a good idea to have a word from our sponsor. So, would you like to suggest a word from our sponsor?
No.
No? Okay, well, let's talk about the Itty Bitty Corporation then.
Okay.
Frigate Small Beam Lasers. Would you like to take it away?
Why not? So, you want the style of a beam laser but without the cost? Sometimes a small beam laser is all you need. Remember, it's what you do with it that counts.
Now, you'd expect a small beam laser to consume less power than a full-size one, but actually it's exactly the same. So this is more... The cost is actually similar too. There's a reason I don't use small beam lasers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well. Their tracking is even worse, which is kind of not what I would expect from a smaller weapon. I'm not being very...
Hold on, click on this again. Oh, they use the same amount of power, too.
Yep. I'm not being very kind to the Itty Bitty Corporation, but they didn't pay me very much for this advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
And also, let's take a look at the smallest brand of plasma launchers, the light plasma launchers. For the ship captain who wants all the destructive oomph of a plasma torpedo but has a tight budget, this bite-sized weapon of fiery death is the best choice.
May or may not be the best choice.
Indeed. It does have the tracking speed of a frigate-size plasma launcher. It also has roughly the same damage.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not entirely out of the question to put frigate weapons on a cruiser, but you might be better just making frigates in that case.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You might encounter a map where frigates are not allowed. In that case, the light plasma launcher might be your thing. And because that last battle was so short, let's move to the final battle. Only a little bit larger, but quite a bit more difficult.
Okay.
We're fighting the Swarm again, and this formation right here is actually very effective. It's good at disrupting shields, and it has a backline that supports the front line quite well, so dealing with them efficiently is going to be a trick.
Trickery!
First of all, it's pretty easy to tell what those fighter squads up on the upper right are going to do. So let's prepare for that.
They're going to move down and support the cruisers?
Exactly. No, they're not going to do that. Why would you... Actually, that would be a pretty neat trick if they did that. You can set them to escort from that distance.
Yes.
They are not... I can tell you from experience that they're not going to, though.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's figure out... Oh yes, I did promise at least one Nomad missile cruiser.
How many missiles did you put on that? A lot.
A lot. I mean, if you're gonna make a missile cruiser, you might as well put a lot of missiles on them. And it's a good thing that they're fast missiles, because I might have trouble hitting the swarm ships with this. That's why I'm only using one missile cruiser. Aside from that, I think I'm gonna have to bring out the pulsars for this.
Okay.
I need very good DPS to deal with this formation before they annihilate me. For that reason, I think... Let's see. Plasma frigates or beam frigates? Plasma frigates are lower risk. They attack from further away, and they have their own frigates that are going to try and go after mine. So I think I better bring out my own safer long-range artillery here.
Okie doke.
And let's see. Might not be a bad idea to bring a beam cruiser as well. I'm not going for a super high honor run this time. And gonna set an even higher priority for frigates here.
Because they need to go.
They do need to go. Especially since I will probably lose shields rather quickly. Okay, I think that just about does it for now.
Yes.
Oh, I do want to set an unusual order. I'm gonna set a formation order with my beam cruiser, and the reason is I don't want my tractor frigate to run up to the corner of the screen, because when that lower squad of fighters is released, I will need protection. Alright. Let's see how much of this goes to plan.
The answer is none of it.
It never goes according to plan.
So... they brought guys.
They brought guys, alright. Or, I don't know what members of the swarm call each other.
Well, the first round of fighters is heading in already, so...
Yep. And it looks like...
they're attacking your cruisers.
yeah, but then they just stopped. They attacked my cruisers briefly.
And then attack your frigates.
Yeah. Alright, looks like I have to use the armored frigates this time. I got away with the unarmored ones last time, but sadly, it was not to be forever.
Well, that didn't take long.
No, it didn't. But, you know, if they're useful for even one map, they're probably worth designing. Okay, that means less honor for me, but I'm not really going for honor that much anymore.
Now you're going for vengeance.
It's a good thing I had both designs ready to go, though. Oh, wait. Oh, duh. I forgot to put down my painter fighters.
That would have helped.
That probably would have helped. I might actually be able to switch to my unarmored plasma frigates in that case.
Armor.
Especially because those look like anti-fighters. So... there they are. And given the number of enemy fighters, I'll probably want a full squad of painters this time.
Okay, but what about your plasma frigs?
Well, I'm gonna switch to the unarmored ones and put them below the anti-fighter setup. In hopes that they'll go after the difficult target first. And let's move them up this way to be a little more enticing. Let's try that again.
Okie doke.
Also, you put something right next to the microphone, didn't you?
That was my mistake. Okay, here they come.
Let's see which direction they're going. Yeah, they're not heading for the cruisers this time. Yeah, they're set to target fighters. That's gonna be their downfall, I think. Oh wow. Well, we confirmed something. A shot that instant kills a fighter does not even display a damage number, which I kinda wish it did, because that would give a better indication of what's going on. But we can be fairly sure that we're killing those things off. So, moving on.
Here comes everybody else.
Everybody else is on the way. Looks like those things are set to escort.
Well, that's not the worst thing you can do with a frigate.
Yeah. I'd prefer to have a beam frigate behind my first punch, but that's okay. Looks like they have plenty of anti-missile stuff, so I would not try normal cruiser missiles against those guys at all.
Oh, the front line is entirely pulsars.
Oh wow, they're doing something similar to me. I think my backline is just a little better, though. It's gonna be kinda close, though.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on your plasma frigates.
Yeah, plasma frigates are just really good here. I think beam frigates would probably get vaporized in this situation. Because, as you see, they have a beam frigate taking shots. And if my own were in range, they'd probably be in trouble. Alright. Because my backline is intact, yeah, I think I got it. But you can see why I considered this to be a challenging setup.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like, despite everything, the Nomad missiles worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it was only the frontliners that had the smart bombs.
Some very aesthetically pleasing warp drive detonations to be seen here. So what worked out in this battle?
Well,
big surprise, right?
Yeah.
Pulse cruisers. You need to field a lot of them because otherwise they'll get concentrated down quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And they can be pretty expensive, so they're not always the best choice.
Yep.
I'd say the larger the battle, the less you should rely on pulse cruisers.
Mm-hmm.
And now, the final expert battle. What is this gonna look like?
You know, you're just gonna have to find out, won't you?
We're gonna have to find out. Alright, so let's take a look at the radar. We got our cruisers here, and we got some frigates, and we got some more frigates, and
we got some frigates.
we got some more frigates. Okay, I need to stop for a second and think about how we're gonna deal with this.
Fight them.
Yes, I know we're going to fight them, but I might have to actually adjust my fleet for this. This is kind of a new and different challenge, which I appreciate. Don't get me wrong.
No, I'm going to get everything wrong.
Well, okay, sure, you do that. I think we're going to need another beam cruiser for this. We've seen how effective they are destroying frigates. I'm not sure whether plasma frigates are the best thing.
Because they have a bunch of their own frigates.
Yeah, and plasma is not the best thing for shooting frigates. But on the other hand, it might actually be for the best because we want to outrange their beam frigates for certain.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna target mine, and they outnumber us. So we might just have to try and have our cruisers take most of the hits, maybe? That's the general idea.
Well, we'll just see if that works out or not.
Yeah, it's a little iffy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to throw in at least one rocket cruiser. Because, I'm gonna need to take down shields when we do fight their cruisers. They're probably not much worse than the ones we fought earlier, although they are spread apart more, so there's that.
Mm.
And I'm gonna have to, I think, adjust my priorities so that I attack their frigates first and wipe them out before too many of the cruisers can approach.
Destroy them as soon as possible.
That is the general idea, yes. Huh. I normally don't have to adjust my targeting priority for these maps.
Well, most maps don't throw 20 frigates at you.
Yeah, or a
well,
large...
most maps this small.
Yeah, they sure don't. Okay. Let me just make sure that the range is also correct.
Yeah, you can fairly easily build a ship that's armored against even, like, cruiser lasers.
Yeah, it's just that there's a couple of problems. They won't be able to shoot very much, and the targeting will actually work against you if your other ships are anywhere near the armor Hulk ships. Because ships will switch their targets if they're not effective against it.
Yes, but what if the ships that are proof against pulse lasers are frigates?
I thought you were saying proof against beam lasers, which I'm saying, well, it's possible, but...
No.
Okay. Then yes, making a frontliner proof against pulse frigates is not a bad idea. Wouldn't work too well against this setup.
Yes.
But I would be surprised if pulse cruisers were not popular in, for example, challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's enough talking for now. Let's
fight them.
Let's fight them and hope for the best.
Yeah, well, start the map.
Yes.
The real difficulty here is that you can't really place your fleet at the complete bottom of the map.
Yeah, I noticed that restriction as well. In Gratuitous Space Battles 2, they just go all the way and give you scenarios where you're just completely surrounded. And here they come. Let's see what they're armed with. I'm guessing at least some beam frigates since we saw those before.
Plasma.
Plasma. Well, they're using frigate plasma, and we've seen how effective that is.
And they're charging right in, which makes it less effective.
Yes, that is considerably less effective. If these were backliners for those cruisers up there, then things would be...
Then we'd have a problem.
We would have a problem. Also, these are not set to keep moving, so I actually can hit them with the plasma. But I need to get rid of them quickly, because if those plasma shots do remove our shields, then we're going to take a whole bunch of damage from their beams.
Well, there it goes.
There it goes indeed. I mean, we're destroying a lot of points worth of ships right here. But it's a little iffy on how well things are going to go.
Well, you're kind of losing your plasma frigates, so...
Yeah, well, unfortunately that couldn't really be helped. Once they got in range, what you gonna do? And we actually have to deal with the minimum range here of our
beams.
Our beams. That's why they weren't able to really deal with those really close frigates.
Yeah, and now your missile cruiser is the only thing that can really remove enemy shields.
Yeah, that's a pretty big problem. Let's see, how would I change this setup if I could?
Well, you may pull it out in the end anyway, because...
Yeah, they aren't really doing a whole lot of damage to me right now.
The problem, they can't pierce your shields either. At least not really.
Oh, there goes one of them.
Oh, right, they have missiles too. Good luck?
Good luck.
No, I think you've still got this one.
Yeah, we might get carried by those nomad lasers. Why aren't they shooting... Okay, there we go.
Why aren't they shooting at the things they were shooting at?
Well, for a while they were just bouncing off the further one's shields while the closer one was right there ready to get hit.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Oh boy, those shields are pretty strong.
Oh, now they're down.
Yep, now they're down. Yeah, DPS-wise, those special swarm lasers are not great, but they do pierce shields unlike normal lasers. And it looks like at this rate we'll probably be okay, because now we finally have the advantage of numbers, and they're not doing a whole lot.
Well, they're getting shot.
Okay, yeah, I guess that is doing something, maybe. Hey, what's this? Oh, it's all... Pretty much all of its weapons are down. Oh no, it's still shooting a little bit. That was really close.
Yes.
I probably could have thrown in another cruiser and I would have been okay, but honor! Honor!
But you can't buy anything.
Who cares? It's honor.
Okay.
And that was the last map, and I gotta say, it provided an appropriate challenge for being the last map. That was kinda scary.
Well, of this DLC anyway.
Yeah, well, but we've done plenty of single-player, single maps, and I think people kind of get the idea of how it works.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, about what the next thing we're gonna do, how that's gonna work.
Are you asking for a challenge?
Oh, yeah. We've had some good fights in Gratuitous Space Battles, but it wasn't much of a challenge.
Uh-huh.
Well, so, the way it's going to work. It's going to take a fair amount more time than the last few things we've been doing, because it's not a matter of just jumping into a map and throwing a bunch of ships at the enemy.
No. What we're going to do requires some setup.
It would take some planning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take more time, for one.
Yes.
And as for the process, Stone of Triumph and I are going to, as I may have said before, separately record our preparations for this confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that's done, he is going to put up a challenge for me using the online challenge function.
Correct. In fact, I can send a challenge directly to you.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And once that's all done, we will record our interaction.
Yes.
The only interaction allowed in gratuitous space battles.
Uh-huh.
And then once that's all done, we will upload the videos in roughly chronological order, one at a time for you.
Yes.
I also like to emphasize that this is just for fun. Victory and defeat in gratuitous space battles is at least partially luck because of the way orders can interact with each other, and even the exact same setup may succeed or fail depending on who tries to attack what.
Correct.
With that all explained, I'll see you then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, back.